All right, welcome to DRM News Global, where we like to take one specific piece of news and really, kind of dig into it.
Yeah, go deep.
And today, we're looking at something from pasted text. And it's Broadway.
Broadway, baby.
Always exciting, always something interesting happening there.
Always.
And the big news that we want to talk about is Denzel Washington
Of course.
in Othello,
Huge.
breaking box office records.
It is. I mean,
A big deal.
So the mission today for you, the listener, is what does that actually mean?
Right.
Okay, big star, big play, lots of money, but how do we unpack that? What does this actually tell us? So, I guess to start, like a Broadway box office record, that's
saying something.
That's a high bar, right?
That's a high bar.
Give us some context for how big a deal this is.
Well, I mean, think about how many productions have graced Broadway.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, to set a record, you're not just talking about, strong sales. You're talking about demand. You're talking about unprecedented interest.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting to think about the specifics of the record, right? Are we talking about, the highest grossing week for a straight play or, fastest to sell out in recent history? I think understanding the very specifics of the record itself will help paint, a clearer picture of just how significant this actually is.
Yeah, and it's not just good or great. It's the record.
It's the record, yeah.
In Othello, it's Shakespeare, right?
Yeah.
It's a classic. Right? It has these enduring themes that we see all the time, right?
Sure.
But what about Denzel Washington? What about him do you think drives this kind of interest?
Yeah, I mean, Denzel brings decades of acclaimed work on stage and screen.
Yep.
He's got the respect of, everyone in the industry, and he's got a devoted audience, So him choosing to return to Broadway in such an iconic role, it automatically creates this event. It's not just people going to see a play, it's you're witnessing this monumental actor engaging with a piece of dramatic literature, and it carries this certain prestige, this anticipation.
Yeah, and this is what gets really interesting to me is you have this play that's, hundreds of years old.
Right.
But the themes, unfortunately, still resonate today.
Still relevant. Yeah.
And you have this very modern, icon breathing life into it.
Yeah.
And it's causing this huge response, right? This record-breaking response.
Yeah.
What do you think that says about the power of classic theater?
I mean, I think it highlights the enduring power of a really well-told story, and the power of exceptional performers to really connect those stories to modern audiences, It suggests to me that there's not necessarily a dwindling interest in classic works, but perhaps a higher bar for execution.
Oh, interesting.
For presentation, right. And a major star like Denzel can draw in a wider audience, people that maybe wouldn't normally even attend Broadway, and offer them an accessible point of entry to really powerful narratives and dramatic work.
So for those of you listening at home, this isn't just some celebrity vanity project that happens to be doing well.
Right.
It's actually pointing to something a little deeper, right?
Yeah.
About audiences, about stories that last,
right?
About captivating performances, and it kind of highlights the star power when it's mixed with the right material.
Yeah,
how it can really create something special, right?
Right, exactly. And I think if we kind of zoom out a little bit and look at Broadway as a whole, it kind of begs the question. Is this a potential trend?
Yeah.
Are we going to see more emphasis on these revivals featuring, major stars to kind of guarantee box office success in a world where entertainment is,
so competitive.
It's so competitive, right? And so it makes you think about the balance between, newer original works and these high profile revivals and what that means for, for the future of Broadway.
Yeah. Well, I think this quick look from pasted text into Denzel Washington's record-breaking run in Othello definitely gives us a lot to think about.
Yeah, it does. A record like this isn't just a number. It's, it's a moment in Broadway history.
It is. And for you, the listener, what does it say that these, star-led productions of classic plays can still achieve this kind of success? What does that tell us about, audiences and this kind of timeless appeal of talent and story?
Yeah.
And I think it's something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely.
And we'll be right back after this break. These first look photos, they're like clues. little hints at how they're going to reinterpret this whole classic tragedy.
Yeah, it makes you think, what's the overall vibe going to be like?
Totally. Like you look at the photos and it gets you wondering about all the stuff you can't see yet, you know? The lighting, the set design, how the actors are using this space.
It is interesting to think about how those things add to the story.
Absolutely. It all adds up to something,
Okay.
right? Like how they're positioned next to each other. There's a conflict, intimacy, maybe some kind of power struggle right off the bat. It's all right there in those first photos.
So speaking of the photos, what was your first reaction when you saw Denzel as Othello?
Oh, man. Authority,
Mm.
you know? He's just got that natural command.
Yeah, he always brings this real weight to his roles. And so many of his characters, they're all wrestling with these internal battles. It just makes you think he's perfect for Othello.
Oh, absolutely. But look closer. You know, there's always more there with Denzel. See if you can catch a flicker in his eyes, a certain set to his jaw. I think we might see a new side to Othello, maybe some vulnerability underneath all that power.
And then there's Jake Gyllenhaal as Iago. What do you make of that?
Ooh, he looks intense, right?
Definitely, like something's bubbling under the surface.
That's it, simmering.
Yeah.
You know, Iago can be played all charming on the outside, but here, I don't know, there's something darker there.
It does make you wonder how he's going to play it. Will he be straight up evil or will he hide it, you know?
Yeah.
Be all sneaky and manipulative.
And the way they play off each other, even in just a photo, you can see how complex their relationship is going to be.
It's wild how much you can tell from just one image.
Right. A little bit of costume, a hint of the set, how they're standing, their facial expressions. It's all there, giving us clues about what the director's going for.
So what stands out to you in that way? What are we seeing here?
Well, what do you think? Are the costumes traditional? Does it look like they're sticking to a certain time period? Or is there something more modern going on that can tell us a lot about how they're interpreting the story?
You know, it's hard not to think about the history of Othello. Casting a black actor as Othello, well, it's more common now, but it still brings up a lot of the play's big themes. Race, prejudice, especially when you think about what drives Iago.
Exactly. These photos really put that front and center. That's what makes these casting choices so important, you know? These underlying power dynamics, the racial tensions that Iago uses to his advantage. Seeing these two actors in these roles, it just reminds us how relevant this play still is today and how it explores these complicated issues.
So, big picture, what's your gut feeling? Traditional, or are we in for some surprises?
Honestly. It's tough to say for sure just from a few photos, but that intensity we were talking about. Plus, you know, these are some seriously talented actors. I have a feeling this is going to be a production that really digs into the psychology of the play, you know, the emotional depths.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it'll be powerful and really get to people. These photos have definitely got people talking. The excitement is palpable.
No doubt. They've given us a taste of what's to come. And with these two at the helm, it's going to be major revival. I'm sure of it.
Well, folks, what about you? What are you most looking forward to in this new Othello, especially with Denzel Washington and Jake Gyllenhaal playing these iconic roles? Think about it. How have these first photos changed your expectations? It's something to ponder as we wait for the curtain to rise.
It sure is.
Thanks for joining us today on DRM News Global.
You got it.